Hey everyone, I'm Jen, and I own a veterinary technician relief business.
And I'm Michelle. I own a veterinary technician mobile house call business.
And you are listening to Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. In this podcast, we will be discussing and meeting with credentialed technicians who have created their own path with business ownership within the veterinary space.
Our goal is to help inspire burnt-out vet techs before they leave the industry altogether through our stories and the stories of other vet tech business owners.
Happy Monday. How is everybody? How are you, Jen? It's Monday night now, actually.
Yeah, it's Monday night. Yeah, it's a late night tonight for us. It's like pitch black dark outside. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I had a pretty good Monday. I got up, I had breakfast, and I went to the gym. That felt really good. And then came home, and we've really just been working on podcasting for the whole day.
The whole day.
The whole day. So yeah. Yeah, feeling pretty good. I'm feeling a lot better than I was. I'm not as sick as I was, and I have way more energy. I definitely can't move as fast as I used to, which we were talking about that. But yeah, I'm really glad that I at least get to still go to the gym, because that makes me happy, because I was so sick for like the first trimester, and then I'm like pretty deep into the second trimester, and I've been feeling pretty good, so I stopped taking my anti-nausea medications because I was like, I probably don't need these anymore. And that was a huge mistake this past weekend. I was like dry heaving and gagging pretty much all day, before I ate, after I ate, in between meals. And so, yeah, my husband was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I stopped taking my anti-nausea meds. And he's like, why? I'm like, because I shouldn't be nauseous anymore. Like, according to Google, the nausea goes away by the second trimester. And he's like, well, you probably should start taking those again. So yeah, so I started taking those again, and yeah, it's definitely better. But oh my gosh, I just get up in the mornings, and like there's usually the good mornings where like my great husband, he makes me breakfast. So like I move from the bed to the couch, and then I do okay, and then I eat. But if I get up and I start moving around too much, or if I have to make my own breakfast, I will just dry heave the entire time.
Oh.
Yeah. Like it's really bad. And then even today, like I got up and I started moving around, and he's making me breakfast, and I'm just dry heaving. And he's like, can you just sit down? He's like, just stop moving. And I was like, this is what happens when I have to make my own breakfast. And he's like, this is awful. I'm like, I know, it's so bad. So yeah. But other than that, I feel great.
Good. Other than that, and like I love your like, well, I don't feel nauseous. I don't need the nausea meds. And it's like those owners when they
I know,
touch
right?
barbital, like
It totally is.
Yeah, I'm like, you're that owner. My pet stopped having seizures, so I stopped giving the peanut barb, and now we're having a seizure. Like,
okay, I know that's what I said. I know that's what I sound like, but how do you know that you still need it unless you stop it? At least for like, I mean, I'm not saying that for like seizures, obviously, like that's a like that's a no-brainer. But again, the only reason I stopped was because I was like, well, the first trimester I was nauseous, but the first trimester everyone says that you are nauseous, but usually by the second trimester, if you eat, they say that the nausea pretty much goes away and you feel great. So I was like, let's try it out and let's see what happens. And it was a mistake, and I'm right back on it. And so, now I feel great. And now and like my husband literally was like, you need to keep taking this until that baby is out of you. And I was like, okay, yeah. I probably agree with you.
It's been a journey, so I can't wait to see how this keeps on going and unfolds. And I know a lot of us, even though we're 3 months behind, but then the next episode will probably come out like we're for anybody who's listening, we're batch recording right now,
Yeah.
and we're ahead on guests. So a lot of these interviews are happening 2 or 3 months prior to when we're getting out. So by the time you hear this, Jen will be, she'll be close to the finish line at that time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
know, I'm so excited. Oh,
Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Supposed to be here in
right?
it's spring, summer, maybe.
Yeah,
So,
the
mm-hmm.
fun babies. Oh my goodness. Um, so what else we got going on? So today we're interviewing Jessi Lane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I This one was fun. So we already recorded with her earlier.
Yes.
Uh she she was fabulous to talk to. She does a lot of training. She is an RVT. She's in Oklahoma. She owns Rock Animal Training and Behavior, and we really kind of dive deep into what her aspect of work is with being a credentialed vet tech and also a trainer, and how the worlds kind of merge and how she started her business. So that was fun. And yeah, now it's almost 9 o'clock Michigan time. So yeah, like Jen said, it's been a long day.
Yeah, I've only been working, I think, 1 or 2 days a week the past couple of weeks. I was telling a little bit Michelle before we started recording that it's getting a little bit difficult for me. I'm really tired all the time. I don't move the same. My brain honestly doesn't work the same. I guess I have baby brain is what they call it. It is really frustrating. It's frustrating the hell out of me right now. I'm trying to cut back a little bit and try to just focus on, myself and my health um and yeah, and I know like and on the days that I'm working now, at the end of the day, my body is in so much pain. It's not like that on the days that I have off though. On my days that I have off, I'm going to the gym. I'm doing my exercises, I'm doing my stretches and things like that. But man, I like the days that I'm working, I just hurt. It's just physically it's hard. So, there's a lot of things that I'm having to readjust now and it's hard. I was telling Michelle earlier, I was like, I feel like I'm going a little bit through an identity crisis right now, just transitioning from being so career driven and being so focused on that. And I think it's also because I had basically convinced myself in my head that I probably was never going to be able to get pregnant and I was probably never going to be a mother and it just wasn't in the cards for me. And I think that I convinced myself of that so much that now that it's actually happening, even right now, I'm just like, I'm trying to transition from that mindset of like, no, this is really happening. You're going to be a mama and things are going to change and it's not all about your job anymore. And so I've been struggling a little bit on that bus as well. Hopefully, people who are listening, maybe they can relate to that, maybe not.
I'm sure they
But
can.
I know that I'm struggling. I'm struggling with it a lot. So, I've always been the type of person where I want to be good at everything, but I'm also realizing that I don't know if I can, right now I can't give it my 100% at work right now in order for me to be healthy and to, take care of myself and just to make sure that, my little baby is gonna be okay and, things like that. So it's been a little bit of a struggle. And obviously with me being sick and I'm usually a really healthy person, like all of those things. So it's been a really hard mental struggle, but I'm I'm working through it.
Yeah, no, and I feel a lot of people are going to be relating to that. That Met is like what, 95% females. And like you said with the identity crisis, I feel like a lot of us are so passionate about our industry and what we do that we wrap ourselves up with, well, I'm in vet med, like I'm a veterinary professional, this is what I do. That
Mhm.
when something comes along to change your mindset, that shifts your brain, I feel like an identity crisis would be a real thing. And the feelings and the emotions of not being so wrapped up into your career and not so
Mhm.
wrapped up into being the best tech on the floor, the fastest tech on the floor. Now, like your brain says, protect baby at all costs. And I feel there's a lot of people out there, I don't even think I could, regulate those emotions and not be concerned, like, wait a minute, where are these weird feelings coming from?
Yeah.
Maybe it's some sort of instinct that's kicking in, like when a dog gives birth and they start eating the placenta, man. It's like the same, your brain's kind of like going to the same spot. I feel a lot more people are going to relate to that than what you think. And there's probably a lot of techs out there right now who are pregnant who are like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And they're probably feeling the same guilt of not doing it that you're feeling. Like I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people are going to understand that for sure.
Yeah.
And hopefully your clinic does too.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the thought of like having to even like cut back, and there's going to be a time where I'm not working when, when I have baby and things like that. So I have, doctors that are already asking me like, well, are you going to come back? And, when are you going to start working again? And it's like, I don't know. Those aren't things that I'm thinking about right now. I'm literally just taking things one day at a time, and I'm still even just trying to process the fact that we are going to be having a baby. I think that the mind does really funny things. And like I said, I was so convinced that I didn't think that this was ever going to happen, that my brain's still kind of in that mindset too. So it's in that mindset, and then it's also in the fighting mindset of my instincts of like, okay, no, this is happening. And then like I said, and then with work and so many other things, and then with not feeling good, it's definitely been a journey that I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just getting through it right now. So,
And that's the best you can do is just get
yeah.
through it. And I'm sure like when you're out of it, you're gonna look back and you're smart. You know what's best for you. You know what's best for your baby. And those instincts and emotions, I'm sure they get intense sometimes.
Yeah.
So, when you do have to step back from work, again, I think just you speaking up about it is going to help a lot of folks out there that are probably pregnant driving to work right now, and they have the same thoughts, they have the same feelings, the same questions, and the uncertainty. They're all probably thinking the same thing. And so I know there a lot of people are gonna want to hear more about your journey and support you and be there for you. We've made a lot of friends doing this podcast, and most certainly I know everybody is so excited for you, and we're just happy for you.
Yeah. Definitely, I'm excited. I think this is just all going to be a learning process. What about
Definitely.
you? How's your work week been?
Work wise, it's been nice and quiet. I love it when it's quiet because that means I'm staying out of trouble and my clients are staying out of trouble. So that's good. I did have one like eventful thing and I was like, oh, I'm so talking about this on the podcast. I've been holding on to it for about a week and a half now. Um, and so us being mobile vet techs and you're going into strangers' homes, like half of us meet these people off the internet and we don't always exactly know what we're getting ourselves into.
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned this before. I have an app called Forewarn that I can put in somebody's telephone number and it gives me all of their life's details. It came in handy. It freaking came in handy and I feel like it did me a solid. So I am forever indebted to Forewarn. I had a new potential client message me on Sunday, I think it was, and she messaged me on my Facebook page, my personal one, not my work one. My work one has an automated response saying, hey, I don't work on the weekends. Give me, 24 to 40 hours reply. So she messaged my personal Facebook page. I did not respond. And then about an hour and a half later, she messaged my work email. And I was like, is this the same person? They had different last names. I'm like, I think this is the same person. And to me, that's a red flag because it's like, you're not answering me right now on this way. I'm gonna go find you this way and make you answer me right now.
Hmm.
That's always been a red flag is when people, new clients message multiple times in a row if you're not getting a hold of them, giving their answers right now. They've always been problematic clients. So that's always a red flag. So I'm like, all right, I think it's the same person. So in that email, she gave me her telephone number. I'm like, I got red flags. Let me search this individual's telephone number. She had like 8, 9 charges of meth possession. That's not it's not my place to judge how an individual makes their living either. However, I don't want to put myself in an unsafe situation. And when I found her address, I was like, oh yeah, she's in that area that's known for drug dealing, prostitution, like a crime rate, mugging. I was like, oh, So I was like, this is a good thing to know. The last thing I want to do is honestly, like, I'm like, I would be that person that would be up in that house, trimming that dog's nails, and in comes a police raid. And I'm like, I swear, officer, I'm just here for the cat and dog. Like, as I'm trimming their nails laying on the floor, like that'd be my luck. And I don't want to get wrapped up in that.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to get mugged or my car stolen. I don't want to be, around illegal narcotics. So I was able to send her
Fair.
a message. Yeah, right, fair. Yeah. I was like, who knows, right? So I sent her a message back and I told her I did not have availability until like mid-February. So I gave her like 10 weeks, even though I did have availability. I'm like, she's not going to take it. I know she's not going to take it. So that, I think, just me not being available. Because I know with her calling twice in a row like that, I'm sorry, messaging me like that, she wanted
Mhm.
answers now, which means she wants
Yeah.
availability now. So I use
Yeah.
that against it to be like, I don't have it for 10 weeks. And then if she were to take it, I was going to say, okay, great. I require a non-refundable security deposit. I already had my next steps planned in my head of
Right.
how to word her off without being like, so anyway, I ran your number through my app and I deem you unsafe. So yeah, that was the highlight of my week. Yeah.
So did she answer back?
No, she did not.
Oh,
When I told
okay.
her, yep, I didn't even get, and I had a feeling that that was going to happen, which is why I purposely told her, I'm booked out till mid-February and it's the
Right.
end of December right now. Cause I knew what I was doing. I was like, she wants this now,
Right.
but I can't tell her. I mean, I probably, if I really want to be like, so anyway, I know your area. I know your past drug history. I'm not going to work with you. I can't tell a potential client that, but I can tell
Yeah.
them I'm booked out too far for you and
Yeah.
anticipate that move and be a step ahead of you. Um,
All right, you guys, we are here with Jessi Lane. Jessi Lane is a registered veterinary technician and professional dog trainer who founded ROC Animal Training and Behavior in 2015. Her passion lies in helping people truly understand their dogs and build stronger connections through positive and effective training. Jessi competes in several dog sports with multiple dogs, earning national invitations and top rankings over back-to-back years. When she's not training, she's exploring the outdoors with her husband, her 3 children, and their 4 dogs, Chaos, Sprite. Is it Gila and Nix?
Hella and Nix.
Hella and Nix. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, 4 dogs. I have 3, and I'm like, it's chaos in my house right now. So,
Yeah.
4 dogs, that's a lot.
It is.
Well, it's so nice to have you here, Jessi, and we're excited to hear all about your business and about what you do and how you balance everything out. We're really happy to have you.
I'm excited to be here.
Perfect.
Welcome. Uh, So, Jessi, why don't you start off by just briefly giving us an overview of what you do with your business? Like, what do you focus on? What do you find yourself doing on a daily basis? Like, what is the main focus of your business?
Gotcha. So I do behavior. I do a lot of training. My focus is on pet animals. So I'm really helping families. That's what my passion is for. I deal with aggressive dogs, fearful dogs, anxious dogs, but a lot of it is really integrating a dog to be a good fit for a family. I'm a mom. I have kids. I have a busy schedule. So I really that's kind of my ideal client, or the families with the kids and they're doing all their things and they need help with Rover, because they're jumping and chewing on things and stuff like that. So I help a lot with that. Service-wise, I do in-home private lessons. I do board and train, which they come to me and I train them. I do day training, which is a little different. They drop them off in the morning. I train during the day and then they pick up at night. I also do group classes. I kind of switched a little bit. I don't do as much in-home. The game plan is not to do as many in-home at this upcoming year, but before I was doing a lot. It was mostly in-home stuff. So that's kind of my focus. And then I also just education. I am a big believer in educating what it is to have dogs, what a dog really truly is, because I feel like social media has kind of failed dogs. We think they are all loving creatures that will allow us to do absolutely anything, and they don't. They have their own their own personalities. They have their own genetic downloaded software that means they do different things. So I feel like most of my job is taking people's expectations of their dogs and dropping it to the ground and then building it back up. So that's me in a nutshell, what the business is.
No, that's
Love it.
yeah, that's awesome. I love that. All right. Well, let's get into it. So with everything that you do, what would you say your average week looks like? Do you find that you have a good work-life balance, or do you find yourself like, do you have weekends off only, or how do you deal with your scheduling?
So I would love to have weekends off, but kind of what I do, it doesn't work because you have to deal with the client aspect of things, and people have weekends off. So I try to have one day a week or weekend off. So usually Sunday is my day off, Saturday is my day on. So get a little bit of both. I try super hard to have a very good work life balance. It comes and goes. Like, there'll sometimes be, like, a month or so where I'm, like, really balanced, really good, and then there'll be times when I am, like, all work, all work, all work, and the house gets neglected. The kids get neglected, not in a bad way, but, like, it just doesn't go that way. So, I try to do, and that's the hard part about running a business, is you don't really get off hours. I mean, you guys know this. Like, you might get done, especially when I have dogs here in my house, like, you don't really get off. Like, last time I let them out, usually it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, and then the first thing I do when I get up is take care of my dogs and then client dogs. So trying to find a time throughout the day where I can sit down and I turn off my phone or I turn off the computer. I got really lucky at this shop. I was able to move my desk in here. So my laptop stays in here. So I kind of have that separation in the house to work, if that makes sense. But normally schedule wise, like, I try to spend about an hour or less doing emails, social media, marketing, the fun crap, that stuff. And then doing any kind of notes that I might have to do for clients. And then it's a lot of, I usually in-home clients, like going and driving, because I live about 30 minutes outside the city. So driving takes a little bit. I usually see 1 to 2 in-home clients a week. So not a whole lot. If I have board and trained dogs, obviously it's training all day long. So it just kind of depends, honestly, what I'm doing that week, where I'm going. But typically Sunday I try to have off. I typically try to have the evenings off, or maybe I see one client in the evenings and that's it. If I have a big load of board and trains, I actually will block myself off, so I'm not doing as much going into homes and stuff like that. So I try to balance it. Doesn't always work, but I do try to be conscious of it. But anyway, yeah, and then hobbies. The nice thing is my hobbies are my dogs. So, like, I get to do dog training and hobbies at the same time. That's a big reason why I don't teach a lot of sport work. I try not to mix teaching with my hobby of actually doing sports, because I did that a long time ago and it got me burnt out. So I didn't want to do dog sports. So I try to keep those separate so I can have fun with it.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes sense. I can see that. Where you
Yeah.
want to keep that a little bit separate, because then if you're not, then that's all you're doing the
Yeah,
entire
and then
time.
to be fair, if I'm teaching it, I rarely have time to work with my own dogs. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so a lot of the times it's the dog sport stuff. I will bring clients in, especially if I know clients are interested in dog sports, like, and most of my training is dog sport related, but, like, I don't have agility classes. I don't have certain classes.
Okay.
I leave those to people who know a lot better than I do anyway. But I learned a long time ago, if I teach it and I compete in it, the competing isn't as fun because, like, I'm burnt out by it. So, yeah. I try to separate those out a little bit.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I can understand that. And you want to have a little bit of that separation, because it's already so difficult to separate your business from your personal life in general.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
And they always say with people in vet med, we all need to have hobbies or we need to have identities outside of work. We need to have something that's not just defining us as vet techs or as business owners. So it's good that you have hobbies. It's anything that you can do to like get your brain off your business just for a bit is
Yeah.
very important. Yes.
I will say, when was it? It was like 5 years ago. I started gardening and I love it. I haven't had a chance to do it this year because we moved and I've got to get a new spot, but that was my, like, non-dog sport hobby, and I didn't think I'd actually like it, and I enjoy it so much. So I'm excited to kind of get back to that, because that was I need to get away from dogs. I need to get away from the kids. I need to do stuff. That was gardening. That worked awesome. I like doing that a lot.
So moving on into the business aspect of it, have you always known that this is what you wanted to be, was an entrepreneur or a business owner? And what and when did you decide this?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I really don't know. Like, growing up, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to be. I jumped all over the place. The first quintessential, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer growing up, because, like, that's like, I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. And then I did want to be a vet. I wanted to work with animals somehow. And so I knew somehow I want to work with animals. Then I found out what it took to become a veterinarian. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not good at. as much as I love to teach, I'm not good at school. Like, I don't like the school aspect of stuff. And then I found out about vet tech and when you can become, a registered veterinary technician. So that's when I went to college. But I didn't start college till I was like 24, 25. I didn't know I wanted to own a business. But my whole entire family are entrepreneurs. Like both my grandparents own their own business and very successful businesses. My parents do too. And so like, I always had that kind of growing up. So I don't know if I really wanted to, but like I knew it was possible, if that made sense. My grandpa, he's passed away now, but I really contribute him helping me learn to start this up and kind of move forward with things like that. Brock's been around for 10 years now. So I kind of feel like he helped a little bit with that before he passed. But no, I mean, yes, I knew I wanted to do something, but I didn't know maybe owning their own business. I just knew it was possible, if that makes sense. It was working in a vet clinic. You know how, I mean, you all know this, working out how burnt out you can get with just scheduling and personalities and especially if you're working in a private clinic versus like, of course, when I was working, most everything was private. There wasn't a whole lot of corporate clinics at all. In fact, there wasn't any that I knew of at all around us. And I just get so burnt out by everything. I knew I wanted to do behavior. I had started going looking into becoming actually I wanted to get my specialty in behavior for VTS and
Oh,
behavior. So I started looking at that and then I realized I really couldn't get the hours that I needed to get my VTS without having working in as a trainer. That was my thing. So I started looking at how to do that and how I would go about that. The clinic I worked at, the owner, the veterinarian, was super supportive. He helped me actually get into the dog training academy. But unfortunately, which I do not blame him, he wanted me to stay at the clinic and work, and I had to be work around his schedule. Well, that wasn't going to get me the hours that I needed because if I don't remember, you need like 4,000 hours for VTS and for behavior. So that's when I decided, I was like, I'll just make my own business and I'll do it myself. And so I remember I kind of started putting everything together. I quit there and started doing it part-time, but I still worked at emergency clinic. And then I was able to get a job teaching at a college in the veterinary technician program. And that worked great, teaching all day and then going and doing training in the evening. Unfortunately, that went under, that college did. It bankrupt and we all lost our jobs. And that kind of forced me to do rock animal training full time. And that was in 2016, I think. So I started doing it full time at that point. I worked in clinics off and on just to kind of supplement. And I was a little scared, like, how's this going to work? But I've been doing it full time since 2017, like the end of 2017. I got my own training facility. I had my own building, brick and mortar for a while, upgraded to a larger facility. And then after having kids, and I realized, again, burnout, trying to balance, having a facility is hard when it's just you running your own brick and mortar. And so when my lease was up, I went ahead and let the lease go and went back to just doing in-home stuff, just trying to still find that balance between family and work and running a business.
yeah, I feel like it would be a lot easier or just a lot, like, I can totally see, yeah. I mean, and it sounds like you have property, like you have acreage, so you can make it work, and then you're still home, as opposed to,
Yes.
yeah, the brick and mortar, like, you're probably spending the majority of your time there, and you're paying for a lease, I'm assuming,
Yeah.
and trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure all that out. But when you have property and acreage, it sounds like you really just you took advantage of what you had and you made it work. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I think that's brilliant to just use your home for that kind of stuff. It'll save you money in
Yeah.
the long run.
Yeah, it does. Because that was my issue is when I had the brick and mortar, it was great. It was nice. I had a better separation of home and work because, you leave,
Yeah.
sort of. But I had so many clients that are like, can you just come in home? And I'm like, I'm paying this amount of money a month for leasing this and you still want me to come to your house. All right, I'll give the lease up. And that worked out really. And at that time, I really wanted to go bigger. It was still just me and like one other trainer that kind of did part-time stuff, worked under me. I really wanted to go big, like multiple trainers, blah, blah, all this stuff. And then I realized I don't have to do that. I'm happy with what I'm doing right now.
Right.
So that's what I was like, I don't need all this. And so it worked out pretty good.
Right. And then it's a lot more work too
Mhm.
when you have multiple trainers. But man, the in-home thing seems to be a lot more popular in general. People just
Yeah.
don't want to leave their houses
No,
anymore.
they don't.
No.
And to be fair, behavior wise, it works great because they get to see the dog in their own,
Yeah.
In their
in
own
their own.
environment.
And
Yeah.
I tell people like 80% of my job is really working with a human. So I walk in and, see the layout and be like, oh, we can change this, 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 and this. And then boom, things are already 100% better just by changing the environment for the dog. So that's kind of nice to see that for doing in-home that way.
Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. I'm glad that you made that work for you, and and that you made it make sense for you and for your business, and it seems to be working out great.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
it
Yeah.
really is.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I can appreciate the aspect of like keeping it smaller. When I told my clients like, oh yeah, I'm booked this month or I got a lot of people, my clients will ask me or pretty much my newer clients will be like, are you going to expand? Are you going to get people to work under you? And I'm like, nah,
Mhm.
I like it just me, just tiny, easier this way. I never want to have people underneath me and making it bigger. Just too much responsibility for
It
me. So
is.
I agree with you. It's just when it's just yourself and you only have to worry about yourself, it makes it a smoother path and you don't have to worry and stress as much when you have people under you. You're just worry about yourself. It's
Yeah,
easier.
just worry about
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah, at one point, I had 3 trainers kind of stepping in to do different classes for me because I was so busy, and it was great. I mean, I loved it, and I like to see that growth, but it stressed me out.
Yeah.
So, I was like, "Okay, we gotta back up on this a little bit."
Yeah.
Well,
I could see that. I know it's like your name is on the door and if people aren't doing what you exactly, you're responsible for them at the end of the day. And it's just
Mhm.
ooh, a lot. I don't know. Maybe that's just yeah.
Well, and it kinda went back to the whole vet med thing, and I'm like, "I don't wanna be stressed out," like, again, you're working with other people, and it is your name. Because like, when I worked, I might be the only RVT, and so a lot of times there's things under me, so, yeah, I was like, "We're kinda back where I started," and I wanted to get away from that, so, yeah, it worked out, and then with my kids, just being able to be home, and I want to be a mom, and I wanna be the best mom to them, so I knew I was not the best when I was stressed out worrying about work all the time.
well, I'm glad you recognize that. I think, I feel like as business owners, we do have a little bit of pressure to be like, okay, you start off, they say the goal is to grow, right? The goal is
Mhm.
to make it bigger and to do all these things, but I think and it's funny that you said that maybe because we are in vet med, we get back we start feeling that same stress that we felt when we were on the clinical floor or when we were around all those personalities and then you're dealing with certain responsibility and then you're like, whoa, 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 like I need to stop. Like I'm trying to get away from all this. And I really respect the fact that you saw that and that you were like, I'm walking away from that and I'm gonna find what's best for me and not what other people think that maybe what's best for me or because you're not trying to prove yourself to anybody. You're just trying to
Yeah.
make your life easier on yourself and you just want to enjoy your life. And I think at the end of the day, like that's really, why we started our own businesses and that's really why we're doing this is because we wanted to enjoy our lives and we wanted
Mhm.
to have time to do things that we wanted to do and we wanted to have time with our families. And then when we get too big, then we're right back to where we started and we're like, oh my gosh, no, this isn't what I wanted. So I love the fact that you recognize that and that you had enough respect for yourself to just be like, nope, I'm stepping back and I'm going back into what I know is going to be right for me and for my kids and for my family. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, because it's not always about growth. Because 'cause you're right, when you and that is something going into business, you want growth, but at some point, you don't need growth, you need consistency, and so, I mean, if you want growth, that's great, but yeah, I don't want that crazy life, I want consistency, that's what I need.
Moving on to the next question. Jesse, what are the key skills that you think a technician needs to successfully run a business, whether that's mobile or relief or even just what you're doing?
Honestly, it there's 2 things I feel like are gonna be the biggest thing. One, you gotta have people skills, and, like, I think this is across the board. Anybody that works in vet med, they feel like they're working with animals, so they don't have to have people skills. You gotta have people skills. I'm like, you have to. You either have to fake it or you have to really have people skills. And then the second thing is you have to be organized. And like, I am not a very organized person. Again, I fake it till I make it, but I've also had to learn what helps me be organized. There are so many different apps that are out there that can help organize like tax information and organize like mileage. And I had to go through multiple apps even to keep track of my clients. So, like, it may not be necessarily that you yourself are organized, but to go out and figure out what helps you be organized, if that kind of makes sense. Because you have to be organized. Because whenever you go see a client, regardless of what you're doing, you kind of want to look professional. And to look professional, you got to have your shit together. And so, like, even if it's not really together, you've got the illusion of it. So
Mhm.
you're doing a lot of illusions.
How many clients do you have right now?
Not a whole lot right now because I was out sick the last couple of months. Actually, I was out a lot this past year. I had to have a major surgery and stuff. But when I had a training facility, like I had over 500 clients, new clients that year.
Oh my
Yeah.
Damn.
gosh.
I think right now probably close to 20, 25 is what I have right now.
Okay, that's not too bad. That's still a lot.
Yeah,
Like
it's a lot, but
that's an
yeah, it's not too
impressive
bad.
amount.
Yeah,
But gosh, 500. Oh my gosh, that's a little
yeah.
overwhelming. I
It
feel
you
like a little
yeah.
bit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, they weren't all obviously at one time, but
Right.
whether I was running group classes, because I remember looking at it, because that was also the year that I was like, okay, I've hit. This is awesome, that whole growth thing, but I was stressed out trying to keep up with it. So that was kind of that same time as when I hit like I'm okay being smaller at this point. So yeah, I think that's another thing to be quite fair that a technician needs to learn. When you're running a business, you may have this great passion and you may have these great skills, but knowing how to get the right client for you, and that's something I have evolved, like it's constantly evolving, is you can market, because that's part of a business, you have to market. You can market and throw like a very wide net and you're going to get everybody. You may not want everybody and they may not be the clients that work best for you, and y'all may not mesh, things like that. So trying to find your ideal client, who you target to, who you want to keep, who to say no to, because I think that's also a big thing, that as a new business, you don't want to say no because you want that money. I actually said no to a client today, and I was like, I've reached a new maturity thing. I said no to a couple $1,000s because it didn't fit what I really wanted. And they're great people and I referred them, but like that takes growth. That takes being
Mhm.
okay with it. Because I think when you first start a business, you're terrified and you're going to take everything because you just don't know, you need the money too. So figuring out your ideal client, figuring out how you find that client, and then sticking with it. And again, that's going to be it's not going to be stress free, but you're going to be less stressed out that way.
Yeah, I think definitely me and Michelle, we did a podcast episode on that. And that was
Okay.
something that we had talked about of like when you start your own business, you're gonna want to say yes to everybody because you're just desperate to like just get your business name out there and just to get money rolling in and to get things started. But then I mean, because I that was a mistake that I made. I said yes to every single relief shift that was coming my way, and then I got so sick. Like so sick. I was traveling and I like barely survived. Like I got so sick. And then I had to continue to work my other shifts and then it was just like this whole thing. And yeah, I think that yeah, it's definitely can be a mistake. And then you're almost willing to have other people cross your boundaries a little bit just because you're desperate for
Yeah.
to make that business. But then at the end of the day, you're just not happy. So yeah, you're totally right. That is definitely y- you want to have your ideal client and you want to stick to it, and it's going to be really hard in the beginning. But then, like you said, once you're like in the trenches, you're like, no, next. Like,
Yeah.
I don't need you. Like
And they'll
like
come. Yeah, they'll come. Like, you would just have
yeah.
to have faith in that, and faith that in yourself, and faith that, the work you put into it, that those clients will come, and they'll come when you need them to, and they're gonna be the ones that stick with you. Like, I don't know how many clients I've been doing this for 10 years. I have some clients that multiple dogs, like, I've been with them as puppies, and the dogs have passed, and they brought me new puppies, and or I've watched these dogs grown up, and and so those are the clients you want. And no matter what business, you want those deep relationships with whatever service you're trying to offer for them.
And I wanted to point back to one thing you said. You just briefly mentioned it. Talking about looking professional, acting professional. And I think that's something a lot of us overlook is how we're presenting ourselves to the clients. Not only are we shaping our clients, but our clients are also picking us. So I feel it's important, like, we are polished, we are poised, we are well spoken, we smell good, we look good. A couple of clients tell me that they use me over somebody else because I didn't smell like cigarette smoke.
Hmm.
Like it's you gotta I you really have to also see how you're presenting yourself on the outside as well, because you can't roll up in your pickup truck flicking your cigarette out the window, blaring loud rock music, which I love rock music. I know we talked
Hmm.
earlier, you used to be a punk. Me too, man, I'm telling you. But now I don't blare my music, and you have to speak with certain tones and just be presentable while you're at it. We know what we're doing. We're smart, we're educated, but we also got to look the professional part as well. And I know that may be an unpopular opinion, but it is the truth. And I've had clients tell me that looks and presentation matter a lot right along with your business and what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah. And I will agree with that but I also say that I think there is something to say because I do look untraditional. You can't tell. My hair is hot magenta pink. I have piercings. I have tattoos. I'm gonna go get hopefully a big old neck tattoo in this upspring. Like, so I do look different, like the not typical professional. And I'm aware that that will also turn away clients from me, and I'm okay with that. So I feel like as like being smelling like cigarette smoke, if you want to smell like that, that's fine. But then don't get upset when clients don't want you. But there does need to
Yeah.
be in that level of professional. But it's funny because I have most of my clients who I would have never thought would have ever hired me are some of the clients that are my best clients based on what I look like. Like I have a client that I've been seeing for the past 2 years. Every Friday on the dot, I go to their house and I train their dogs. And this client is they're very well known in the area. And I would have never assumed that they would have liked me based on how they present themselves, if that makes sense. So sometimes you can do it, but your personality has to overplay what you look like too, if that makes sense. And like in your education and your so you can look a certain way, but you better make up
Yeah.
for it other ways or
Yeah.
be okay that nobody wants to hire you.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like you'll find your people, right? Like
Yeah.
when it comes to businesses and it comes to the type of clients that you have, not everyone's going to be your person.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of it is. And thankfully there's enough businesses out there where, we all have our people. So, and that like those are conversations I've had with people too sometimes where you can do everything right, and for some reason they still weren't happy with you, it still didn't work out, like, and then you go through and you're like, what did I do wrong? And at the end of the day you're literally just like, you know what, those just weren't your people, like they just
Yeah.
didn't vibe with you. And you don't want clients, customers, you don't want to work with people like that anyway. You want to have your people, your village, your vibe. And we're all different.
Hmm.
So if that's not going to work out for you, it'll work out with somebody else. And so that's just kind of how I see it a little bit too. So stick to your true self, stick to who you are, stick to the people that you want to surround yourself with and the people that you want to work with, and then you're going to be happy. But if you're forcing things um that isn't going to work, then you're not going to be happy.
You have to have like this major self-awareness. And it's something that I've had to, I mean, I was working on this even when I was working in vet med, but the self awareness, like everything, to know when to say no, to know when you've taken on too much and need to back off, the self awareness to know, hey, I may not be everybody's cup of tea and that's okay. There's a level of self awareness as a business owner that you have to be willing to change. You have to be willing to dig down deep inside and look at that because you don't have to, but you may not be as successful or you might be more stressed out in life or stressed out trying to run this business. And then you get burnt out in that and you're like, man, I just fail at everything. And that's not the truth. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just, hey, I'm going to start this and do this and it's going to work. I know in my area, I don't know how many there are now. I'm sure there's more, but there's at one point, I was one of like 52 dog trainers within like a 30
Wow.
mile surrounding.
Wow.
Um, just kind of like in the vet world, dog trainers, there's no certification. Like there does not have to be a certification. There does not have to, there's no regulation. Well, there's with vet tech, but like there's literally no regulation. So anybody can say, hey, I'm taking behavior cases and take a dog and start doing things. So, but it was crazy how many of these people would pop up, run a business, do it, go away. Pop up, run a business, go away. And so I think that, no matter what business you have, you've got to have self-awareness to know, hey, what I'm getting into, that's going to be tough and I got to change myself a little bit, but I can still be myself. But there's a lot of give and take to it.
Yeah. I don't think that's a skill that anybody has ever actually really mentioned, of having that self-awareness, and to be that business owner and to know that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and to know that, you have to have some sort of professionalism if you're going to be a lasting, successful business. So I think that's great.
Yes.
I think that's great that we even that was mentioned, because it's true. Like
Yeah.
that's absolutely true.
Okay. So, Jessi, what aspect of your work are you most passionate about, and how do you keep that passion alive?
I really think it's probably just the educational aspect of not telling, but teaching owners about their dogs and about like the possibilities that they can have with their dogs. Also helping them understand their dog better. And I really feel like that meshes in with the vet world too, because there's so much that plays into behavior and physical issues with dogs too. So I really kind of like that passion because I still miss vet med. Like I still miss working in the vet world. So I like that they kind of mesh in that way too. And I can play both roles because there's a big divide in the dog world where, stay in your lane, stay in your lane as a vet tech or in a veterinarian. And I totally respect that. I get to walk both lanes. And so I kind of like that as a passion. And I feel like that sets me aside from other people as well.
Mm, you're right. It is once you get outside of that core of vet med, you're exactly right. And I haven't heard anybody say that to me yet, but it is definitely a stay in your lane area once you're like outside of a clinical setting and you're doing a business like yours or like mine, or even if a vet tech leaves to go to grooming or any other thing, it's definitely, you know, this is my area, this is your area. You here, I'm here, you there, and just stay out of my way. And I didn't kind of put that together until now.
Yeah. But it is. I mean, you get to do both lanes. Like especially if you're registered and you're licensed, you get to do both lanes. It's allowed. Obviously, you stay within the confines of what your state allows, but you do get to walk that line and you get to jump back and forth. And I feel like that actually helps the clients so much more. I mean, just like when you're working in a clinic setting, you're that liaison between the client and the doctor. The doctor should be giving you, hey, this is what needs to be done. And then you're educating the client. Well, in my case for behavior stuff, I still do the same thing. I'm the liaison between the dog and the owner, and then sometimes the owner and the vet clinic as well. So I think that to me, I love that. I love that as being able to kind of do a little bit of everything and the challenges that offers as well.
Yes. Do you feel like your relationship with your clients is more organic because you don't work in a vet clinic? That they're more willing to trust you because there's always that cloud over a veterinarian's head, or oh, they're just trying to sell me stuff. They're getting kicked back from Big Chew or Big Kibble, whatever you want to call it at the moment. And knowing that you don't work for any one vet or you're not employed by any clinic, you have no financial gain. So like they trust you a little bit more for product, diet, health, wellness. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, no, I do find that be true. And I will be fair, like when it comes to like diet and stuff, I try so hard that I do try to stay in my lane because I know nutrition, but that gets really, that's a big touchy thing.
Yes.
So, but I also believe that gut health really affects behavior. So I will bring that stuff up to clients too. And I always like, hey, go talk to your vet, this kind of stuff, but this is stuff that I've seen. But no, yes, I totally agree that most of my referral is by veterinarians, either veterinary technicians, staff, or veterinary clinics that's referring to me. And I do think because the clinics are referring to me, that kind of gives me, they're like, oh, she must be really good that clinic's referring me. But then I also will refer to clinics. And so I love that aspect of it as well, because when I send them to a clinic, they're like, oh, Jessi sent me from over here. And like, so they trust me. They trust me with the clinics. And I also have to be really careful because I have worked in so many clinics and I know so many people. And as y'all know, that world is a very small community, even though it's large. I know who's really good at behavior and I know who's not good at behavior. And so I'll have a client come to me and they're like, hey, I see, because I always ask, who's your vet? What's their vet, like what's their vet history? What's their medical history? Like that is a standard protocol for all my clients.
Mhm.
And so if I feel, especially behavior wise, like we have some issues and let's say I feel like they would do better on a medication, or I feel like, hey, you need to talk to your vet about this. And let's say they go to a vet that I know is not super great when it comes to behavior side of stuff. I will sell them, hey, I'm not trying to pull you from your veterinarian, but this vet is really good behavior wise. You could go see them and still see your vet for, everyday stuff. Or well, we talked about this, Michelle, being fear-free certified. Not a whole lot are there are more now that are fear-free certified clinics. I'll have clinics or clients that go to like Banfield or, and nothing against them, but for a really scared dog, that is not the best place to be going to for veterinary care. So I will send them somewhere else. And those I feel really bad. And I always try to be like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm not trying to pull you. I promise it's for the best of it. And I have spoke to some of those clinics and they actually are cool with it because that's not their ideal client either. So I feel like we kind of have a mutual trust and that works really great.
Yeah, no, I get that. We got a couple in our area, and I've been like, hey, they're fear-free certified. They might, and I felt gritty a little bit, like I was taking clients away from a DVM, which I'm like, is this unethical of me? And I felt conflicted the few times I have done it. So that you made me feel validated. Thank you. Cause I've done the same thing where I'm like, oh, I hope that DVM doesn't think that I'm, but yeah, we got a fearful dog, fearful cat. And I'm like, well, so-and-so's fear-free certified. FYI, they might be able to get to the bottom of your fear. Yeah, so it helps.
And I think if you word it in the way that, hey, we're really just trying to make it the best for your dog or cat, like that should be what the veterinarian also, the best interest should be of the patient, right? So if they don't get that, that's probably not the place for them to go anyway, if you think about it that way, because there's somebody else will just come and take their space. I am very lucky that there's a veterinarian I work very closely with. It's just her and her RVT that run the clinic, and they only see one clinic or one patient at a time. And so I send a lot of my fearful reactive clients up to her, and I plan to go see her specifically because it is small, fear-free, one-on-one, and that works great. But I'm also not going to send her the clients that have happy-go-lucky puppies that would be fine at other places, So it's trying to help them figure out the best vet that works for them as well.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's not about the veterinarian, and I mean it's not about their ego as far as I'm concerned. It's about what's going to be the best experience for that pet and for
Mhm.
that owner. And especially, we always want them to have the best experience in clinic. And that's how we create that bond. That's how we create that trust between the client and the pet. And so at the end of the day, again, just like Jessi said, I completely 100% agree with, and if the veterinarian does have an issue with it, and if the veterinarian's like, oh, wow, they did better at that clinic than they did at my clinic, then maybe that's a reality check for that veterinarian that number
Mhm.
one, maybe they need to do things differently. And number two, if they do get pissed off about it, that's on them at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
maybe that's not somebody that you really wanted to see
Yeah.
because we're all here for the benefit of the pet and we all want our patients and our pets to get to get the best experience. So,
Exactly. I mean, and if you think of it this way, we would not send like a ferret or a
yeah,
rabbit to the spay and neuter clinic, right? We know that that is not designed for them.
right.
We're not going to send a fearful reactive pet to a big box store veterinary clinic, unless they have really something awesome set up. So yeah, no, it's just how you word it and how you send it to the client, and you don't you don't say, hey, you should just go there. You say, hey, this clinic offers this, this, and this. It's an option. That's how I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They might have more time
Hmm.
available with your pet. They might have, because some clinics are only doing 15 minutes appointments and,
Yeah.
or maybe this clinic's really short staffed. This one, they're Fair Free certified. So maybe Rover might do better at this clinic because maybe it's not as fast track. Maybe it's not as fast paced. And, there's so many different reasons. And I mean, and then you have people too where I've had people be like, "Well, I don't like my veterinarian, so I don't like all veterinarians." And it's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, well, it doesn't work that way." You just have to find again, you have to find your people. You have to
Yep.
find who vibes with you and who respects you, and things like that. And there's so many different veterinarians and different veterinary staff out there, and they all work a little bit differently with certain pets. So Jessi, going back, what advice would you give to technicians that are considering starting their own business? I know we kind of talked about that with the previous question, but is there anything in addition that you would give to technicians that are considering their own business?
Probably like whatever their business is, try to look, and we're obviously not copying, but you're going to go and see, well, who else does this? How do they do it? Are they successful? How do they run it? And you're not copying, but you are trying to look and see what's already out there. Because if you can see what's out there and what has not worked, then you know not to do that. And then to be fair, this is again the whole self-awareness. You're going to look and see, okay, I want to do XYZ. Okay, there's like 7 people within the 20-mile radius that already do that. Okay, I could still potentially do this, but what is going to make me different? So I kind of really feel you're going to look at your area. You're going to look, is this sustainable? And then do I really want to do this if I have to change my business model, if that makes sense, so it's just really looking at it before you just jump in and do it. Because if you just jump in and do it, then you figure out all that stuff, and that gets frustrating really, really fast. And I say that because I did that. So when I first started, yeah, so you don't want to do that. You want to look, you want to see what's offered. Also, one thing that I know in the dog world that gets said a lot, I'm sure it goes for other areas too, is you can't be a specialty of everything. So if you are going to be a specialty, it really does need to be like one or two specialties. So I have a lot of people say, oh, she specializes in this, she specializes in that. And I do it. I don't specialize in it because I do a little bit of everything. If I only did cat stuff, then I specialize in cats, because that's actually why it's rock animal training, not rock dog training, because I was going to go into doing other animals. And I have worked with other animals. I've done cats, I've done horses, birds. I tried. That was a hot mess. So, but that's why I did animal training. So I wanted to be open to everything. Well, I probably should have just stuck with dog training, because you can't be a specialty of everything, if that makes sense.
It's a
So whatever
lot.
your business is going to be, pick one or two or three or four things and just stick with those. And then adjust as needed every 6 months, every year, adjust and see what worked, what didn't work.
Right, I like that. I like also the fact of, like, just because you start out doing one thing doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be married to that. You know, I've even kind of talked that way with Michelle with how this podcast started. I'm like, who knows where this podcast will end up? This is how we want to start it, specifically talking about business and doing these specific things. But then you find what works best for you, and then you work with that. And then if you have to change things, like, do it. Don't just stick to it because you feel like, oh, this is how I started, and so this is how it should be. And as you grow, you'll have different interests too, right? And then
Yeah.
kind of like you said too, because I used to have my own nutrition business where I did like recipe analysis for homemade diets, because you'd have all these people that would come in and they'd say, oh, I've had my dog on a homemade diet. And I'm like, oh, well, is it well balanced and complete? And they'd say, well, I got it off the internet. I'm assuming it is. And I said, okay, well, I can do recipe analysis for you. And so I did that. That was a part of my business. And then I would have referrals and people would be like, oh, ask me about cats. And I'm like, hey, I just do dogs. Like, I've only done, like, I did the basic and advanced on dogs. And I know, like you say, like, we work in the veterinary field and we went to school. So we know, generalized information about nutrition, but to go deep into recipe analysis for cats, I'm like, that's a whole different ballgame, man. And that's a lot more work. So same thing with like training and horses, and I mean, there's so many different things that you have to learn, and I I'm gonna be one of those people. Bird people and horse people and dog people are very different.
Very different. Very
So
different.
there's a lot of different personalities
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I can see, yeah, how that it'd be a really good idea to start, right? When you're like, wow, and then you do it and you're like, oh, this is a little too much.
It's a little too much. A little too much. So I still stick with the animal training just because that's what I've had. But I mean, if somebody asks me, I'll be straight up honest, be like, hey, I can help. I know the basics of stuff. I can get you started, because there still isn't in the area. No one does cats. There's someone up probably an hour and a half north of me, I think, does more cat related stuff. I'll help with what I can, but I'm going to be straight up and honest that is not my thing. It's just trying to figure out, you can't be a specialty of everything. It's just to figure out those few things that you can do and do really well, and how can you market those and make them work for your business.
Right. No, that's smart.
Very smart.
That's really good advice. I think that's actually one of my favorite answers that we've gotten so far on this podcast.
Yeah.
Figure out what you're good at and stick with it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, and I think too what you said, you don't necessarily have to copy people, but figure out what worked for people. I know that when I first started Relief, I contacted people who I knew were really successful and owned their own relief business. And what is it called? You shoot your shot, basically.
Yeah.
Or you contact them and you're like, hey, look, I want to do the same thing in my area. I want to start at a good foundation. So what were the things that, if you could go back, that you would change? And a lot of times those people, they just want to help. Anybody who's successful in business, if you have somebody that's reaching out to you, that's asking for your advice, most of the time that person, they're going to want to help you and they're going to want you to be successful. So shoot your shot. Like, find those people and be honest with them and be like, hey, I've seen that you've had this awesome, amazing, successful business. I want to do something similar. I don't want to, I don't want to steal your thunder. I don't want to steal your business. I just want to know, these key things. So yeah, that's really good advice. I really like that.
And I'm hoping that's where the podcast comes in handy, because then we can hear from across the country, like what one person's doing, and this worked for Jessi or this didn't work for Jessi. Let me, figure out where I'm going to go after hearing these stories, just because I feel if I would have contacted the one other person that does nail trimming in my area, she would have been like, go the fuck away. You're not stepping on my turf. I can almost guarantee you that. So it is, some people
Yeah,
are
there
built like
are.
that. Yeah, some people
Yeah.
are built like that. They're very territorial. So having resources like this hopefully will help out where technicians be like, oh, I heard this and I heard that from somebody that's not going to be an immediate threat to their income, I guess you should say.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 But I mean, even with everything, whether behavior or nail trims or group, whatever you're doing, there's always, I can't even remember what the statistics are of how many people, how many households have dogs or cats. There's always business out there. So like,
Mhm.
that's kind of how I've looked at it. It's like, no, do I really like this? Do I like that somebody's coming in my area? No, I'm okay with it. Kind of goes back to I will find my person and those
Yep.
people will find theirs. So I don't know, is it like losing your ego? I don't know what you call it, but like that. But like it's like, hey, it's fine. It'll come. What will come will come. Because I think it is helpful. I've had people come and ask to mentor under me, and I've always tried to help as much as I can. I've had people
Good.
come and I've encouraged to open businesses and do their own training and stuff like that. And I always think that it's good to help. It's good to help because I mean, we need more people out there. We need good people.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. We need good people. So,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
kind of goes back to teaching. I mean, I like to teach, so it works.
Yeah, and if you're good at what you do, then you're gonna find work. You're gonna
Hmm.
find something.
Yeah.
It's just it's inevitable. If you know if you're slacking on some things, like we talked about, like professionalism or communication, or most of the time that's what's going to get you. If you're not punctual, those are all like those skills that we were talking about. Those are really really important skills to have. If you're slacking on those things, that's when you might lose business. But if you're good at what you do, the business will always be coming.
Yeah. It really will. Yeah. It really, really will.
Okay. W- I love this. I love this question. It's so like so to the point. What is your favorite part of the job?
It's the flexibility to try new things because in clinics, you don't really it's not your say so and it's not your business, which fair. It's not your name on the door. I like doing this because yes, I love to teach. I'm passionate about dogs, but I actually like the business side of it because I can try things and I can be like, that works. Oh, that did not work. I'm not doing that again. I can change my schedule. I can have that flexibility to make things work for me. And so that's the business part that I like the most. The job aspect is still education. I love to educate. I love to help people with that. So I guess two different passions in that aspect. Sorry, Ripley's going crazy.
It's okay.
This is not my dog, by the way. This is a client's dog. And just, you were talking about expectations. I've trained her for 4 years. I'm just now able to offer the boarding and stuff here. So before, she always came to classes, came to my old training center. Ripley wouldn't let me touch her for like 2 years. Ripley
Oh.
wouldn't let anybody around her for multiple times. She was just terrified. And so I don't know if you saw, she's up in my face and all that stuff. And it took a very long time for her to be comfortable with that. And her owners are out of town for 2 weeks. And so she's staying with me and she's a cool dog. But she's a Pyrenees mix. So like, she's got the genetics, not stranger danger. I don't know you. You're not in my little group and I'm going to not like you. So yeah, it took a little bit to explain that to owners. And once our owners realized that, they wanted her to be a brewery dog to take to the breweries and hang out and drink with it
Oh,
because that's what they like to do, which is fine. But that's not Ripley.
that's not a
Ripley doesn't like that.
Pyrenees.
No.
Yeah,
So
no.
I was like, you need a golden for that. Like,
Yeah.
so you need to get you a golden for that. So Ripley does her own thing. And they figured out how to make that work in their family and give her what she needs. And she's thriving because of it. And they aren't frustrated because they're trying to put, what is it, square peg in a round hole kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
So
And it goes
she's
back to what
happy
you
to be running
said.
around.
A dog letting a dog be a dog. It goes right back to
Yes.
letting the dog be a
Right.
dog.
Right.
Which is
Let
why,
them
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people, and even I found myself too sometimes, where you try to train their natural instincts out of them.
Mhm.
And hopefully I think that we're getting a little bit away from that, because it's like there's so many things that dogs do that we try to train out of them. And it's like that's first of all what they were bred to do. And we gotta get away from that. We can't be treating them like that. We have to let them be dogs and
Mhm.
let them be them. There's certain personalities too where, there's things that they do and you don't like it. It's like, well, that's the dog that you got.
Yeah.
So, like, let them be them.
Yeah.
So,
I always tell people, as long as they're not hurting themselves and they're not hurting other people and they can at least listen to you and be contained, let them. Let them.
yeah,
And if You know, there's always ways to find around. But if you're wanting a dog that is constantly in a crate or in a placemat or not being able to run and not do stuff, then a dog's not for you. Like that
Right.
really is not what you need. And so, I mean, that I have to have that talk with a lot of people. And there's so many clients that get a dog with the expectations of what they think they want, and they get the complete opposite dog. And I love it because they change, not like their whole life, but they change their expectations and they change their environment to help that dog. So
Yeah.
I love that. To me, that makes me happy.
Yeah, I used to have a boxer that I adopted from someone, and she just did not get along with other dogs, and they had her, and they brought her around other dogs, and she would always get in fights with them, and so I got her, and then I got a golden retriever. And then, of course, with the golden retriever, I love to go to the lake and things like that. And so you take the golden retriever to the lake, they swim. Boxers, they don't swim.
They don't swim.
And so, when I would take my golden retriever to social activities, they'd be like, "Oh, well, why didn't you bring the boxer?" I'm like, "'Cause she doesn't get along with other dogs." "Oh,
Hmm.
well, why don't you?" And I said, "No, she doesn't get along with other dogs. Like, why am I even gonna push it?" Like,
Yeah.
and we had tried. There were a couple things that we tried with training, but at the end of the day, and we got her to the point where she wasn't super aggressive with them, because at first
Yeah.
she was like, she just saw another dog and she just like was super aggressive. But we got that under control. But then we would take her to dog parks and she would kind of get along at first, and then eventually she would have enough and she'd be like, "No, I'm done with this." And so it got to the point where I was like, why am I putting her in that stressful situation just
Yeah.
because I want her to? No. Like, if she's more comfortable at home doing her own thing, and then I can take the golden to social events, then that's fine. Like, let the boxer do her thing. And then same thing when we go swimming. Like, we still took her to the beach. She didn't
Yeah.
swim, and people are like, "Well, why don't you get her in the water?" Because she doesn't want to be in the water. I'm not
That's
gonna
not what
make
she wants
her
to do.
I'm not gonna make her be in the water. I'm just gonna let her do her own thing. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to force them to do things just because we think that they would have more fun doing them.
Exactly.
Just let
Exactly.
them be.
Let them, they're their own thing, their own being. They're not humans, but they're their own beings. I mean, I blame social media. I totally blame social media that because 1% of dogs can do the social being at a brewery, going to the beach, going to the lake, being around people. Most dogs don't want that.
Yeah.
Most humans don't want that. I don't always want to go
Mhm.
socialize with everybody.
Yeah.
Just let me be me and let me do my own thing. And so when I explain that to people on that aspect, that hey, do you want to meet everyone you know? And do you want
Yeah.
to talk? And do you want to be? And they're like, oh no. And I was like, then why do you expect your dog to? Honestly, that's why I love Dobermans, and my cattle dogs, because people stay away from me. Like, I love that. And it's funny. People who know me know I like Goldens, but I say I'll never own a Golden. I'm currently looking for a Golden puppy. But anyway, I personally don't like Goldens because I feel like they are too forgiving. And I see so many clients that are so rough with their Goldens unnecessarily, and their Goldens are so forgiving of it. And
Mhm.
I like my Dobermans. I tell people my Dobermans, they keep me humble. And
Mhm.
my healers keep me honest. You buck up to them in the wrong way, and that healer will hurt you, or they won't listen to you for weeks. Same thing with Dobermans. Whereas I feel like a Golden, they're just love me, you can do
Mhm.
whatever to me. And that breaks my heart because people take advantage of that.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes, I will say when I grew up, I didn't have dogs. My mom didn't like dogs. I begged for dogs every year, and she was like, "No, we're not getting a dog. It's not happening." And of course, I grew up loving animals so much. I got my first dog when I was 22 when I moved out of my grandparents' house, and I did all this research, and I was working in the vet field, and I wanted a border collie because of Babe. I
Oh
wanted a border
yes.
collie. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, "I'm going to get a border collie." But I did my research on the breed. And then I was reading and they were like, "Oh, border collies don't make good apartment dogs. Like, they're more working dogs and they're herding." And I was like, "Okay, maybe not great for a first dog." So then I was like, "Oh, I want a husky." So then I did my research on huskies. And then I was like, "Oh, they really like to run. They like a lot of property. They're not good apartment dogs. If you're not really good at training, if you've never trained a dog, not a great option for your first dog." So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh. So then I looked it up, like, what's the best first dog? And then I was like, oh, a golden retriever. Never
Yeah.
wanted a golden retriever ever in my life. And I was like, "Ugh, I guess I'll get a golden retriever and then I'll learn how to train. And then my next dog can be something
Starter dog.
different." Dude, I have only had golden retrievers now. I had got my first golden at 22. I have my second golden now, and then I just got a golden retriever puppy this year.
I
And then
love
I
it.
have a labradoodle that we that I ended up with It was a parvo dog that was relinquished at one of the clinics, and they
Oh.
wanted to euthanize it, but it was like the most healthy parvo dog I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh.
And so we were like, let's give it a chance. And my golden needed a friend, so I took her in. But yeah, now I just have retrievers. And now, like, I literally asked my husband, I was like, what do you want your next dog to be? And he looked at me, he's like, our next dog. He's like, a golden. And I was like, okay, I just wanted to see what your answer would be. He's like, what's your next dog? And I was like, a golden. Like, so yeah, I literally was like in that fix of like, I guess I'll get a golden retriever, even though I've never wanted one in my whole life. And now I'm like, I love goldens so
I
much
love
that I
them.
just
Yeah.
like, so, so yeah, that's how I ended up with them. But I really wanted a border collie and then a husky. And now I've worked in the field long enough. I'm like, absolutely not. I
Absolutely
don't
not.
want either of those
Yeah.
I was gonna
dogs.
say, why would you want, like, when you mentioned husky earlier, I never knew that about you. I'm like, why in
Oh
God's
yeah.
earth would you
Well,
want a husky?
because I grew up loving wolves. Like I read White Fang
Oh,
and I fell in
okay.
love with wolves. And so like huskies were the closest thing to wolves. Um, I went through all of that. But yeah, now I'm just like, oh, I love my Goldens and they're so easy. Although this third one, I will tell you, Jessi, oh my gosh,
God.
he is testing me. I was like, my first one was not this hard. My second one was a freaking angel, like absolute angel. Um, but this third one, man, oh, he is.
Pushing boundaries.
Yeah, but he's got so much personality, so can't get mad at him because I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just your personality. And we
Yeah.
also named him Todd, so I feel like that's also why he's just really living up to his name.
I like it.
So, but yeah. Anyway, a little off topic. So what is your least favorite part of the job?
The least favorite part is probably the technology side. Trying to keep up with everything. Y'all will laugh at this. So I'm not tech savvy very much either. And I had a client, I think it was 2 years ago. They're like, "Oh, do you take Venmo?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what's that?" And like they had explained to me Venmo, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess I can take that." Because before I just used like Square or PayPal or something like that. And I had to learn about Cash App. And of course, the other part that I have a love-hate relationship with, mostly hate, is the social media side of it. Cause like you do have to stay kind of current. You have to like post, you have to market. And I like it, but then I'm also neurospicy enough that as soon as it becomes a demand, I want nothing to do with it. So I'm like, I don't want to have to post things if I don't want to. If I don't feel the joy, I don't want to post it, but like you have to. So trying to keep up with that can sometimes be really like it sucks. But those are really the two things I kind of don't like. I used to hate note taking because even in the vet world, I hated charting because I do the same type of charting system that I did in the vet world with my clients. Like I do prognosis, like, well, in the vet world, we don't do prognoses as RVTs, but in my world for training, I put prognoses for things. I use the same soap notes, the exact same, because it makes more sense in my brain, like what I'm doing. So I used to hate that, but now I kind of like it because it's nice to go back and reference and stuff like that. And it saved my butt a couple of times with really hard cases. So to stay on top of that.
What are some of the apps that you currently use for your client? Yeah, if you don't mind
Hold
me
on, just doing
asking.
it. My favorite one, and it sucks because you have to pay for it now, but I didn't have to pay for it, but I use Evernote, and there may be something easier. Just because I use it does not mean it's awesome. It just means it's one I found and I stuck with it. I also have an Android. So I use Evernote. It's one of my favorite things. Evernote is assuming it's like a notepad, but I like it because if I put it on my phone, it'll also pop up on my computer. And that might happen with regular phones, but I don't know that. So that's what I use. So I use Evernote a lot. Obviously Outlook, Google. I use Dropbox a ton. The other one, I don't have it on here. It's on my computer, but it's self-employed by, is it QuickBooks? Yeah, QuickBooks Self-Employed. I like that thing. It has an app. I took the app off because it drained my battery really bad, but it keeps track of my mileage for me. And so it follows me to keep track of mileage. It also helps me keep track of tax stuff. So that one I swear by. I like that one. And then the other one I use a lot, it's not an app, but it's two. One is called KindMaster. This will just be really dependent on your job, but I use KindMaster. It's KINE Master, and it's how I do editing for videos. So if I am uploading to like TikTok or social media or something like that, it's how I do my editing. I also film all my training, not all of them, but most of my training sessions for clients when I do board and train so they can see what I'm doing. So I do a lot of editing on here and upload to YouTube. So KindMaster works really good, and Canva. I use Canva a lot. So those are the big ones that I would say. But also it just depends on your tech savviness. You may not have to use those if you know what you're doing.
No, that's great. I have not heard of Evernote or KindMaster. And
Yeah.
so it definitely helps because it's something I'll put in the show notes and hopefully other techs like, hey, maybe I can use that who are not tech savvy. And you've been working with us for a bit now. You know I'm terrible at it. So I mean, I think there's more of us than not that are we look at something tech and we're like, "Ooh."
And I feel like there is that pressure to stay up with technology. There's the pressure to stay up with it. And that's hard. That's hard and you don't have to, but that might affect your business too if you don't keep up with technology.
Yeah, that's true.
I want to keep up with technology. Oof, it's hard.
I know.
Is
I'm
it
sure there's so many people that you can take advantage of technology and like are using it like for their advantage, but I just hate it so much that I'm
Yeah.
just like I try to avoid it as much as possible. I use what I
Yeah.
can, but for the most part, I try to avoid it.
how do you balance your personal life with your business? Like, how do you balance all that out?
I know it sounds silly, but in my scheduler, sometimes I will block out stuff on my work. So that makes me do stuff at like whether I have to do it with my own dogs or
Oh,
family stuff. I try to once a month kind of go through my schedule and look like where things are heavy with work, whereas maybe the next day I can pull back. One thing I don't think I told you, I actually homeschool my kids too. So like I am balancing that, homeschooling the kids and running the
wow.
business and working. So I try really hard, like my office hours on my website and stuff is not till evening. Like, and I'm very upfront with owners when they contact me and talk to them like, hey, during the day, I'm not available. If you want to talk to me by phone, we can schedule something, but usually text and email. This is when I'll get back to you. So trying to be upfront with people when I can do things. So that way it also makes it so I follow those same boundaries.
I like that you block off certain time in your work appointment or in your work calendar so that way you can get stuff done. I like that. That's
Yes.
actually a really good idea. I should do that.
I
Yeah.
have to, or then because then I'll see it and I'll either doom scroll or I'll find because I'll get distracted and I'll go find something else to do and I'm like, oh, I don't need to be doing that. I need to be doing this. So yeah. And then Jen, we were talking about whiteboards. I have a whiteboard right here. I have a whiteboard in the house. I will in the morning. I start writing on whiteboards what needs to be done so I can visually see it throughout the day and I can wipe it off as I go.
Yeah, that's smart. I guess I'm gonna have to start doing that.
Well, because I used to put it in my phone, but then like if you don't look at your phone, it
I
doesn't
know.
work.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I really wish they had like a whiteboard app for your phone. Like I really always wish that I could just like get one of those like Post-its like and put it
Mm,
like on, but like then you have to pay for that and I'm not paying for that any of
yeah.
that crap.
No.
So, yeah, no. Yeah, no, that's cool. Well, our last question is there anyone in your life that you would like to dedicate this episode to? Anyone in your personal or work life who has in some way inspired or influenced you?
So I was thinking about that. I was trying to figure out, there's probably two people. One would be my friend and my teacher who, when I was in the vet world, her name's Dana, and she was the head RVT in the college program. So she's the one who taught me when I was in school. But then the cool thing was whenever I graduated, got through everything, she's also the one who hired me to go work at the college that I was working at until it went under. But she's always been like a really good supporter of helping. Hey, you're an RVT, but look at you, you've done this business. Like she still promotes me. She has her own thing. She's not working. I don't think she's working in the vet field right now. So she promotes me, and I love it. And it's not just me. I see her encouraging everybody, all of her babies. And so I love that. I think that's really cool. So I was like, shout out to Dana. This person unfortunately is not alive anymore. Her name's Sandy, but she is who got me into the behavior side of things. I had my own dog when I was working in vet med. I had a dog and she had a lot of behavior issues and I went to a trainer that was local and unfortunately that trainer made things worse and Sandy was a client of mine. I did rehab at one of these clinics that I worked at and I was doing rehab on her dog and knew she was a dog trainer, so I asked her, I was like, hey, what can you tell me some information about my dog? This is what's going on. And she's the one who flipped on how I trained on using more positive, more kinder methods, helping me understand the actual behavior, the science behind it, not just your dog being a bad dog. Your dog's doing things that dogs do doesn't make it appropriate, but still doing things that dogs do. And so she changed my thinking on a dog is allowed to not want another dog in its face, because at the
Yeah.
time I was like, my dog's a horrible dog. It bit it bit a German Shepherd that got in its face, like
Oh,
I
goodness.
was, yeah, right. I mean, I was young, all this stuff too. And I thought I was the worst dog owner. I thought my dog was the worst dog ever. She was a healer, and a German Shepherd
Sounds
ran
like
up
a
on her face.
healer to me.
Yeah, right. And so, but the trainer I had been going to was like, no, your dog's horrible, and we need to do this, 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 and all this stuff. And I used some very, very old school methods training this dog, my own personal dog, because this is what a professional told me to do, and it didn't sit right. And so Sandy, when I asked her about it, she really helped me realize this is not how it's supposed to be done. And she owned her own business, and she'd let me come in and kind of watch her. I took classes from her. I was able to, Scout was my dog's name. I was able to really change Scout. She started getting horrible anxiety because the way it wasn't working, I started to escalate using different tools the wrong way. Sandy was awesome. She was amazing. Unfortunately, about a year and a half after all that, she passed away from cancer. So she's been gone for a while. But her and Dana, I feel like on the vet tech side and the behavior side, work together to help kind of create this.
I love it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes, they sound like two wonderful people. So
Yeah.
yeah, you sound like a mix of both of them. I love that. You got the best of both worlds as far as mentors.
Yes.
Yes. Um, is there anything else you'd like to add? I certainly say we've enjoyed chatting with you, even through all of our IT problems that we're having today. You have been absolutely phenomenal to work with since the beginning when we first reached out, because you were actually our first referral, by the way. You came from Daphne Grace, who sent you to us to be on the show. And so we were really excited to have you on, just because I'm like, it was our first referral. And then we had the IT issues. So you have
It's
been
okay.
so wonderful to work with today. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring in or get out there before we let you go?
No, I can't think of anything. No, and I love Daphne. She's actually a great example of somebody reaching out. I spoke at a veterinary conference like 3 years ago, and that's how she saw me speak on behavior, and she reached out to me asking me not how to be a trainer, but like what, all the different things. So she's a great example of reaching out to the people that you might be able to learn from. And so yeah, no, I love Daphne, and I've loved watching her grow and become such a great trainer. So
Yes. Yes, she's a wonderful person too. Yes. So I love it.
yeah.
We're making more and more connections as we keep going. So, and it's been so
Yeah.
fun, meeting you and getting to know you and, talk about Goldens and Dobermans.
Yeah, no, this is cool. This is not something I would have ever had on my radar to do. So I really appreciate you guys asking me to come and do this.
It was a pleasure. So there you have it. Jen, anything else for you, my dear?
Nope. I was just gonna say same thing. Thank you so much, Jessi, for coming on, and really loved the conversation. And I think a lot of people are gonna enjoy this conversation as well.
Yay. That's awesome. Yay.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna end it here, you guys, and we will
Okay.
see you guys next time, okay? Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and found some valuable insights. If you did, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave us a review and let us know what you think. You can also connect with us on all social media platforms at Endless Journeys, the Vet Tech Odyssey podcast. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a positive impact in the veterinary world. We need you guys. Have a great day.